Black boy helps disabled millionaire cross road. The next day, a black SUV showed up at his house. In a quiet town in North Carolina, 14-year-old Jamal Harris was no stranger to hard work. After school, he often ran errands for his neighbors, helped his mother around their modest home, and occasionally worked odd jobs to save up for a new bicycle. Jamal's reputation as a kind and dependable young man was well known in the community, though few beyond his neighborhood ever noticed. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below. One sunny afternoon, Jamal was on his way back from the corner store, carrying a small bag of groceries for his mother. As he approached the intersection near Main Street, he noticed an elderly white woman in a wheelchair at the edge of the crosswalk. She appeared to be struggling with the controls, her hands trembling as she tried to maneuver over the uneven curb. Jamal paused, watching as impatient cars honked at the woman. A few pedestrians glanced in her direction but quickly looked away, unwilling to get involved. Jamal didn't hesitate. He jogged over to her side, his sneakers squeaking against the pavement. "Ma'am, do you need some help?" he asked, his voice gentle but steady. The woman, visibly flustered, looked up at him. "Oh, thank you, young man. I can't seem to get the chair over this curb. And the traffic light changes so fast." Jamal smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, I got you." Carefully, he guided the wheelchair off the curb and onto the crosswalk, his small frame steady as he navigated her across the busy street. Once they reached the other side, the woman gave him a grateful smile. "What's your name, young man?" she asked, her voice soft but warm. "Jamal Harris, ma'am," he replied. "And you?" She hesitated for a moment, then said, "Evelyn Carter." "Thank you, Jamal. You're a good boy." Jamal shrugged, brushing off her praise. "Just doing what's right. You take care, Miss Carter." Evelyn watched as Jamal turned and continued down the street, his bag of groceries swaying in his hand. She sat there for a moment longer, her mind turning over an idea that had been sparked by the encounter. The next morning, Jamal was seated at the small kitchen table in his family's home, munching on toast and reading through his math homework. His mother, Patricia, was bustling around the kitchen, preparing for her shift at the diner downtown. The sound of tires crunching on the gravel driveway made them both look up. Jamal stood and peered out the window. A sleek black SUV was parked outside their modest home. The tinted windows gleamed under the morning sun, and the driver, a man in a sharp suit, stepped out and approached the front door. "Who's that?" Patricia asked, her brow furrowing. "I don't know," Jamal said, his curiosity piqued. Before they could speculate further, there was a knock at the door. Patricia opened it cautiously, only to find the man holding a sealed envelope. Behind him, the SUV's back door opened and out stepped Evelyn Carter, looking elegant in a tailored jacket. "Miss Carter?" Jamal exclaimed, surprised. Evelyn smiled warmly. "Good morning, Jamal. I hope I'm not intruding." Patricia, still confused, glanced between Evelyn and her son. "What's going on?" Evelyn took a step closer, her gaze settling on Patricia. "Yesterday, your son helped me in a moment when I really needed it. He showed kindness and decency, qualities that aren't as common as they should be. I wanted to thank him properly." Patricia's protective instincts kicked in. "Thank him? What do you mean?" Evelyn gestured to the driver, who handed Patricia the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter of gratitude and a certified check for $25,000. Patricia's eyes widened as she read the amount. "What is this?" Evelyn's voice was steady but sincere. "It's a token of appreciation. Jamal didn't hesitate to help me, and I want to make sure he has opportunities to succeed. Consider it an investment in his future." Jamal stepped forward, his cheeks flushed. "Miss Carter, I can't take your money. I just did what anyone should do." Evelyn shook her head. "That's exactly why you should accept it, Jamal. Kindness like yours deserves to be recognized and nurtured, and I think you'll find ways to use it wisely." Patricia hesitated, then looked at her son. "Jamal, this could help with your education. With so much." Jamal looked at Evelyn, his young mind grappling with the magnitude of her gesture. "If I accept this, I want to use it for college," he said firmly. And maybe to help Mom with some bills. Evelyn smiled, her eyes glistening. You're a remarkable young man, Jamal. I have no doubt you'll go far. Word of the encounter spread through the community, and Jamal became something of a local hero. Evelyn, who turned out to be a retired tech executive and philanthropist, continued to mentor Jamal, helping him explore opportunities he had never imagined. Years later, when Jamal graduated from college with honors, Evelyn sat proudly in the audience, knowing her small act of gratitude had made a lasting impact on a deserving young man. For Jamal, that day at the crosswalk was just the beginning of a journey that proved kindness and integrity could change lives in ways no one could predict. As Jamal and his mother stood in their small living room, holding the generous check and letter from Evelyn Carter, the weight of the moment began to settle in. Jamal looked at his mother, her hands trembling as she held the envelope. Patricia had always worked hard to make ends meet, juggling shifts at the local diner to ensure that Jamal had everything he needed. She had fought for his education, sacrificed her own dreams, and never once let him feel the burden of their financial struggles. Now, in an instant, the kindness Jamal had shown a stranger had opened a door neither of them had ever imagined. Evelyn Carter remained standing in the doorway, her driver silently waiting by the SUV. She noticed the hesitation in Patricia's eyes, the internal debate of whether to accept such a large sum. She stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. This isn't just about money, it's about opportunity. I've spent my life building success, but it's people like Jamal, people with integrity and a good heart, who inspire me. This is a chance to ensure he gets every opportunity he deserves. Patricia looked at Jamal, her protective instincts battling with the hope she felt for her son. Jamal, she said softly, this is your decision. You've earned this with your goodness. If you want to accept it, I'll support you. Jamal glanced at the check, then back at Evelyn. Miss Carter, he said, his voice steady. Thank you. I'll use this wisely, I promise. He extended his hand, and Evelyn smiled as she shook it firmly. The next few days brought a whirlwind of changes. Word quickly spread through the tight-knit North Carolina community about the boy who had helped a wealthy woman in need and been rewarded for his kindness. At first, Jamal was uncomfortable with the sudden attention. He wasn't used to being in the spotlight, and he didn't want anyone thinking he had done what he did for recognition or money. But as the days passed, he began to see the positive side of the story. Neighbors approached him with words of encouragement. Local business owners offered him small jobs, and even his teachers at school seemed to look at him with newfound respect. Evelyn Carter, however, was far from done. She returned to Jamal's home a week later, this time alone. Patricia invited her inside, offering her a cup of tea as they all sat down at the small dining table. Evelyn explained that she had been deeply moved not just by Jamal's actions, but by the values he embodied. She wanted to do more than just give money. She wanted to mentor him. I've spent decades in the tech industry, she explained, and I've learned that success isn't just about money or intelligence. It's about relationships, determination, and having the courage to do what's right. Jamal has all of that. I'd like to help guide him, introduce him to opportunities he might not otherwise have. Patricia listened carefully, her skepticism giving way to cautious hope. She could see that Evelyn's intentions were genuine. What does that mean exactly? Patricia asked. It means connecting him with people who can help him grow, sponsoring his education, and showing him the ropes of the business world if he's interested, Evelyn replied. I'm not here to take over his life. I'm here to support him and ensure he has the tools to succeed. Jamal, overwhelmed but excited, nodded. I'd like that, he said earnestly. I want to make something of myself. I want to help my mom, help others, and maybe one day I can do for someone what you've done for me. Evelyn smiled. Then let's get started. True to her word, Evelyn began mentoring Jamal. She introduced him to financial literacy, teaching him about budgeting, investing, and the importance of long-term planning. She invited him to community events, where he met local business leaders and philanthropists who shared their stories of success and failure. For Jamal, it was like stepping into a whole new world, one he hadn't even known existed. Evelyn even arranged for him to visit her estate, a sprawling property on the outskirts of the city. There, she showed him her library, filled with books on business, history, and self-improvement. "You're welcome to borrow any book you like," she told him. "The more you learn, the more you grow." Meanwhile, Patricia couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. She watched as her son flourished under Evelyn's guidance, his confidence growing with each passing day. She also noticed changes in herself. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream beyond the day-to-day struggles of paying bills and keeping food on the table. She even took up an online course in business management, inspired by Evelyn's encouragement. Months turned into years. Jamal, now a high school senior, had become a shining example of what kindness and hard work could achieve. He was offered scholarships to several universities, but his heart was set on studying engineering at a prestigious school that Evelyn had helped him tour. On the day of his graduation, Evelyn sat in the front row alongside Patricia, her eyes glistening with pride. As Jamal took the stage to deliver his valedictorian speech, he spoke not only of his achievements, but of the values his mother had instilled in him and the life-changing kindness Evelyn had shown. "A single act of kindness," he said, "can set off a chain reaction that changes lives. I've learned that no matter where you come from, you can make a difference by simply choosing to do what's right." The audience erupted into applause, but for Jamal, the most meaningful reactions were the smiles on his mother's face and Evelyn's tearful nod of approval. Years later, as Jamal stood at the groundbreaking ceremony of a community center he had funded and designed, he reflected on how much his life had changed. The center, located in the heart of his hometown, was dedicated to providing resources and opportunities for underprivileged youth. He had named it the Evelyn Carter Center for Growth and Opportunity, a tribute to the woman who had believed in him when no one else did. As the crowd cheered, Evelyn, now older but just as sharp, leaned on her cane and smiled at Jamal. "I knew you'd do great things," she said. Jamal grinned, his heart full. "I had the best role models." Leave a comment if you enjoyed this story. It doesn't cost you anything and you'll make me very happy. Thank you, and I look forward to your like.